Hi, grade 12. Today I'll be doing a question from the June 2024 question paper from the Eastern Cape, and we will be doing creditors reconciliation. And in total, this is for 15 marks. So let's read the information and let's start this question. The question says, we are provided with information from the records of shark traders. So shark traders is us, and shark traders buys goods on credit from dragon suppliers. Dragon suppliers is our supplier. Let's see what is required. 1.3.1 says, show the changes to the ledger in our books and show the changes on the statement. We must read the information and indicate all the changes. When you look at information A, this is the balances. So there's the balances in the ledger account. Can you see it's indicated there? And here is the balance on the statement of Dragon suppliers. That's indicated there. So before we start with our adjustments, let's quickly go over the tips that we have for doing the creditors reconciliation. So this is a little cheat sheet that helps you with creditors reconciliation. It makes it so much easier to understand. So normally we are only busy with the following transactions. So remember, a creditor is someone that you owe money to because you bought goods on credit. When I buy on credit, I must make payments. So one of the transactions will be a payment. Another transaction is an invoice or a purchase that you make on credit. Then sometimes the supplier gives us a discount, but then there's a discount involved. Other times, credit and debit note will refer to goods returned. The last thing that can happen is, because I buy on credit, I have to pay a fee, and this fee is called interest. So they charge me interest for the fact that I buy on credit. So these are the transactions that can take place between the business and the creditor. Okay, so now I'm going to group these transactions for you. So an invoice and interest. If the following two transactions, this one and this one, are left out, then they are always a plus. We always add the amounts. Then, let's say we must cancel one of them, an invoice or interest. Then you do the opposite. So if it's left out, we plus an invoice. If we must cancel an invoice, it's a minus. If we must cancel interest, it's also a minus. Then, sometimes too little or too much is recorded. If you have an invoice and interest and too little is recorded, you do what your brain says. So my brain would say, if too little is entered, I must enter more. So if too little is entered, it's a plus for both of them. And if too much is entered, my brain says, no, if it's too much, I must make it less. So then I will minus the amounts if it's too much. So make sure you understand that. Then I'm going to group the following together. A payment, a discount, and goods returned. I'm going to group them together. So with them, they make my account less. So they make my balance that I owe my creditor. They make those transactions. They make the account less. So let's say one of them are left out. Let's do left out. If a payment is left out, it's a minus because it must make my account less. If a discount is left out, it's a minus. And if a return is left out, it's a minus. Can you see all of them? They go together. Payment, discount, and goods returned. Then, let's say I must cancel a payment. Now, normally a payment makes my account less. So when I cancel, it must make it more. A discount makes my account less. So if I cancel, it's the opposite. A return makes my account less. So if I want to cancel, I do the opposite. Okay, let's look at too little and too much now. If too little is entered, my brain says I must add more. But with these three transactions, you do the opposite of what you think. So you would think, okay, too little was entered, I must add more. With these ones, you do the opposite. You must actually decrease even further. So can you see, if too little is entered, you minus. And if too much is entered, make it more. Can you see they go together? The little, too little, and too much can be a bit confusing. But if you can see the summary and the bigger picture, I think it makes the creditors reconciliation much easier. I'm going to go back to my creditors recon and I'm going to do it using this template over here. Adjustment number B1 says a payment. Okay, there, very important. A payment of 13,000 by shark traders was omitted. So that means it was left out, eh? So something was left out. Where was it left out? It was left out in the creditors ledger of Dragon suppliers. Okay, and on the statement. Okay, so the mistake is in two places. The mistake is in the ledger and on the statement. So something was left out. So according to my tips, if you go to that template that I made, according to our tips, if a payment is left out, so can you see here, grade 12? Here's our little template, If a payment, so we must minus the amount. So I'm going to go back to my answer book and let's minus the amount, So adjustment number 1, we have to minus the 13,000 because a payment was left out. And on the statement, we're going to minus the 13,000 because the mistake was on our side and on the supplier side. Adjustment number 2 says an invoice of 28,600. So an invoice of 28,600 received from Dragon suppliers was recorded correctly by shark traders. So correctly by us, we are fine. But the statement reflected the amount as 26,800. Okay. So an invoice was incorrectly recorded by the supplier. So the supplier made the mistake. The supplier entered this amount, but it should have been this amount. If you look at this amount, this is too little. So let's go to our tips. Okay, grade 12. So we are busy with an invoice, So what happened here? Too little was recorded. There is too little. So if too little is recorded for an invoice, we do what our brain says. My brain says if too little is entered, I must add the difference. So, okay, I'm first going to work out the difference, So the difference is 28,600 minus 26,800. The difference is 1,800. So for adjustment number 2, the statement, they made the mistake. And if too little is entered, we're going to add the difference, 1,800. And that's how you do that adjustment. Okay, let's look at adjustment number 3. Adjustment number 3 says, shark traders, that's us, correctly recorded a discount. Oh, so we correctly recorded a discount of 1,600. Let's highlight. But this amount was not shown on the statement. That means they made the mistake. It wasn't shown on the statement. It means it was left out. What was left out? A discount. Let's go to our tip. Our tip says, if a discount is left out, we must go minus the amount, Because a discount makes our account less. So let's go back to our answer. In my answer book, I'm going to record the discount. They made the mistake. So I'm going to go minus the discount. The discount was for 1,600. Adjustment number 4 says, shark traders recorded a debit note for 2,500 in the ledger of Dragon suppliers in error. Oh, so we made the mistake. So this was for goods returned to another supplier. So actually, we didn't return goods to Dragon suppliers. We returned the goods to another supplier. So we made the mistake. We recorded something that shouldn't be there. So we have to cancel this. So now I'm just going to cancel the debit note. Let's go to our tips. Okay, so do you see here? Here is a debit and a credit note for when we return goods. We have to cancel it. If you cancel a debit or a credit note, you must add the amount back, Because normally a debit or a credit note would make our account less. So to cancel it, we do the opposite. So for a debit or a credit note, it says here, we have to add the amount back. Okay, so for adjustment number 4, Who made the mistake? We made the mistake. So here we make the mistake. I'm going to add back this amount. So I'm going to plus 2,500 to cancel the discount. Our next adjustment is adjustment number 5. Adjustment number 5 says a credit note for 4,000 Rand was received by Dragon Suppliers for an allowance granted. But this was incorrectly recorded as an invoice. So this was incorrectly recorded as an invoice by who? By Shark Traders. So the mistake was made by us. A credit note was recorded as an invoice. It shouldn't be an invoice. It should be a credit note. So what are we going to do? We are going to cancel the invoice. We are going to treat this one as if it was left out. So we are doing two things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cancel the invoice. Okay? The second thing we're going to do is we're going to treat this adjustment as if the credit note was left out. Because it was left out, it wasn't recorded. Okay, so I'm doing two things: canceling an invoice and credit note left out. Let's look at our tip. So if an invoice must be cancelled, we take away that invoice with a minus. Then there's a second transaction. I'm going to treat the credit note as if it was left out. So a debit or a credit note over here is left out. It's our first column. If a debit or a credit note is left out, it's a minus. So I'm going to do two minuses now. I'm going to have an invoice that's cancelled, minus. And I'm going to record a credit note, minus. So two minuses, and we made the mistake. So I'm going to go to my books and I'm going to do those two corrections. So first of all, I'm going to minus the 4,000 because I am canceling the invoice. Then I'm going to minus another 4,000 because of the credit note that was left out. So in total, I can say I'm going to minus 8,000. Okay, let's look at our next adjustment. Our next adjustment is this one over here. It says, the statement of account showed the following items that were not recorded by Shark Traders. So these things were not recorded by us. Okay, so the following items were left out, So delivery charges for the month was left out and invoice for goods purchased. These two amounts, I'm going to add them together and treat them as an invoice. If I add these two amounts, it gives me 11,860. And so let's regard this as an invoice left out. If it's left out, it's a plus. So invoice left out, it's a plus. And who made the mistake? It was not recorded by Shark Traders. So we made the mistake. This was left out, so it's a plus 11,860. So I'm adding those two amounts. Adjustment over here. Our last adjustment says a payment. So a payment of 10,000 Rand was made on the 28th of June. And the payment was made by us. The payment was made by Shark Traders. That's us. But the statement was dated 26 June. So we made the payment the 28th of June. But when the supplier was compiling their statement, they compiled their statement only up until that point. So, of course, they don't have this payment reflected on their statement. So they made the mistake and the payment was left out. So here we see when a payment is left out, we minus the amount. So they made the mistake. So because they made the mistake, we're going to write this in understatement. So here we're going to write a negative 10,000 because when a payment is left out, we minus the amount. So, okay, let's total this. If I total all these amounts, so I will say the balance minus this plus that minus 8,000 plus that. And I get my answer to be 168,000. And then on this side, I'm going to say the balance minus that plus that minus that minus that. And I also get 168,000. Okay, and for our last question over here, so here's 1.3.2. It says refer to information number 6. An investigation revealed that these goods were ordered by the owner for personal use. Okay, what advice would you offer the owner regarding the purchase of goods through the business's account? And then it says give 1 point. And then it says while you're giving that point, make reference to the GARP principles in your explanation. Okay, so let's go read the information. The statement of accounts showed the following items that were not recorded by shark traders. Okay, so the owner bought goods for personal use. Okay, so what advice would we give? So the first thing I would say is there's a GARP principle called the business entity principle. Business entity principle says it says business transactions are recorded separately from the owner's personal transactions. And if you want to add something else, you can say personal transactions are normally recorded as drawings. So that's how I would explain that. And that's how you do the creditors reconciliation.